Welcome to the Putnam County Library Lunch and Learn. Today we are joined by Beth Ruck, who will be discussing getting organized for the new year. Take it away, Beth.
Thank you. So I'm Beth Ruck with Conquering Clutter. I started my business in 2015 when I lived in northern Michigan. And how I stumbled across it is my sister had purchased a 2-hour organizing session at a charity function. And I was like, this sounds marvelous. I love to organize. Let me figure this out. So I actually found out about NAPO, it's called National Association of Professional Productivity Organizers, which I was a member of for about 8 years. And I earned my residential organizing certificate through them with a series of classes. I'm also part of Faithful Organizers, which is a group of Christian organizers around the United States and Canada. I'm part of a networking group called BNI, which is small business people that get together regularly and help each other find referrals for their business. And I found out with organizing that it's just not knowing where stuff is, but there's a lot of like emotion involved with our possessions, and that you have to learn about how to talk to people about their emotions connected to their possessions, not just, this is how you do it. So today we're gonna talk about how to do it, some helpful hints. I'll tell you a couple client stories of how I've helped people, and we'll have time for questions if you have any questions. So to get started, I help people manage their possessions so they can spend time with those they love doing what they love. Because a lot of times you complain about, oh, I don't have time for this, I don't have time for that. Well, we can make time by getting organized, then you don't have to worry about doing all these things. And then one definition of organization is making mindful decisions about the life you want. So, and I found when in this profession, there are people that always go, oh, so-and-so needs you or so-and-so needs you, but until they're ready to want me, I can't really help them, or they're not going to do anything until they really want to do something and get into a place in their life. So, getting organized for the new year. It's one of the top 10 New Year's resolutions that someone will make every year, but unfortunately, the majority of people give up on any resolution they make by February. There's a very small percentage of people that actually fulfill their resolution. So when I talk to people, I will be like, okay, what do you envision your life gonna be like if you get organized? And when you are making decisions about things, does it fit in with this vision that you want for your life? Because a lot of times we either postpone our decisions and don't do anything, or we'll say yes to something and it sabotages what we really want to do. So, good things to think about. So, I want you to be successful in 2025, and this is the year that you can be successful in organizing your home. So, let's get started. Is there just some magic formula that makes it all happen? Unfortunately, no. There's no fairy godmother that waves a wand and it's like, hey, you're organized. So what is helpful though? First off is, what's your plan? What's your vision for your home? What's it look like? But you have to go a step further. You can't just make a plan. You have to schedule the time to get started. If you don't schedule the time, it keeps getting pushed off. I have found this with going on vacation. I have found this with doing things in my own house. I have found this with my business or my fun things I want to do. If I do not schedule the time, it doesn't happen. So, first off, I tell people, what's your vision? And then let's think smaller. So, I'll say, what's the number one area in your home that's really bothering you? Is it your kitchen? Is it your closet? Is it your paperwork? I'll say, tell me one or two things that are really bothering you, and then which one do you want to get started on? And then a lot of times people are like paralyzed. They're like, okay, I know I want to start in this room, but I don't know where to start. And so you could do several things. You could just close your eyes and throw a paper airplane, and wherever the paper airplane lands, that's the place to start. Or you could just say, I'm going to start by the door and work my way around the room. There's just whatever works for you, whatever makes it fun. And then the first two things that you have to do when you're starting to get organized is sort and then purge. And ask yourself these 3 questions about everything you're looking at. Do I need it? Do I use it? And do I love it? If you can say yes to any of those 3 questions, and you have room to still have that thing in your house, then keep it. But those questions are important. These are some resources to have on hand when you start to get organized. A trash can, boxes for things you want to donate, boxes for things that you want to relocate in your home, because you might pick up something and go, you know, this really needs to go in the bedroom, or this should be in the kitchen. Boxes for things that you might want to give to family or friends, and then recycling, an area for recycling. And then after you have sorted and purged, you think, is this the best place or the best room for this item to live in? If not, you're still going to keep it, put it in the relocation box. Now, why I say have a box and not run it to the room is because a lot of times if we leave the room that we're working on, we get distracted. And then we're in this room and we're like, oh, I really should take care of that. And so you start taking care of that. And you're like, oh, no, this needs to go here. And so you totally get off track and nothing gets done because you totally railroaded your project because you've gotten off track. So during my sessions with people, I'll leave time at the end, at least a half an hour, and I'll be like, okay, we have about a half an hour of time left. What do we need to do? Like, is something going to a different room? Let's put it there. Is something going in, you know, the garbage? Or are we recycling it? Let's make sure that gets out of there. Do you have a few things that you want to donate? If it's convenient for me, I'll be like, hey, I'm going to past Goodwill, or I'm going past the Beth, or the Habitat Restore. I'd be happy to drop these things off for you. Or let's put it in your car or put it by the door so you know it's going to leave your house. So let's see what's next. And then how many of you noticed, probably for sure in January, maybe even December, a lot of stores have all these cool little storage things that you can buy. And you maybe get an email from the Container Store or Ace Hardware that's like, oh, we have all your storage needs. Well, you gotta keep things in mind. I put storage like number 4 in the whole process because first you gotta purge, sort and purge, and see what you really wanna keep. Because if you buy storage before you do that, you're usually going to buy the wrong size storage container. So you've done your purging, you've gotten rid of things, you're ready to do shopping if need be. A lot of times my clients will find something in their house that they can use and not go have to buy a new item. So that can be helpful and save you money. So things to consider. What's the best size to purchase? Like, what do I really need this container for? Should I use clear containers? Some people want to be able to see into them, know what's in there. Other people, they want, you know, the fabric boxes that go on a shelf maybe, or they don't need to see what's in there. Where are you going to put these containers? Is it going to fit where you want to put it? Do you have a budget? Because believe me, you can go on the Container Store website and you could spend $10 or you could spend $10,000 buying different things or thinking you need a new closet system or something. So you need to have a budget in mind, and maybe do I have something I could use already instead of going and buying things? So I just want to tell you about a client two clients I've been working with. One client contacted me in August. She had moved in with her mother because her mother was starting to have dementia. And then about a year ago, she had to move her mom into a memory care unit, but she's still in the house and her 2 kids came in there. The mother will never go back to the home. So even though she has a brother and locally, she's the one that's in charge of things. So we've been working 2 to 3 hours at a time, going through the whole house that has not only her mother's things in it, but her father, who passed away 5 or 6 years ago, in it, because she's determined that eventually she's moving to a different state. So she's trying to, A, get rid of things that they no longer need in the house, and then figuring out where to put the things she has, but also she's looking forward to, I may be moving in the next year or 2, what do I really want to move with me? And if you have to pay for your own self to move, it's expensive. Even if you pack your own boxes and drive your own U-Haul, it's expensive to move. So the first couple times, first we worked in the kitchen. It was just jam full of years of all sorts of dishes and jars and 30 or more cookbooks and just tons of things. And we worked our way around the kitchen, emptying out the things that she didn't want. We found some we donated, some she needed to ask family members if they wanted them before they got donated. I think that her sister-in-law had a garage sale. But she just was like, you have lifted this huge weight off of my shoulders, because now I feel like I can work in this kitchen while I'm living here with my kids, and it just feels so much better. The second client I want to tell you about, I just met with her last week for the first time. Her daughter had actually purchased a 2-hour session with me at a charity function. So I went over to her house and I'm like, what's really bothering you? And she goes, the worst, she showed me around her whole house, which has a lot of stuff in it. She's lived there 24 years, and she's like, the kitchen is really bothering me. And I said, okay, well, that's where we'll start. Well, what area of the kitchen is really bothering you? He goes, right, the drawer underneath the stove, and then the cabinet right next to it. It's just, I've got pots and pans way over here that I want to use, but I can't use them because there's no room in these cabinets. And I said, well, my approach when I help people is we take everything out of the cabinet or the drawer and we look at everything. And I'll ask you a lot of questions and you have to decide, because I'm not making the decisions for you. This is totally up to you. What do you really want to keep? What do you use all the time? And what can you pass on to somebody else, bless somebody else with? So we went through the drawer, we went through the cabinet to the right, and looked at the things she had stored over on her kitchen table and in some other things, and determined, cleaned it out, wiped it out, and we put back the things that she really wanted to use, that she used quite often, in that bottom drawer and in the cabinet to the right of her stove. Then she's like, we still had time, so she's like, oh, my sink, under my sink, it's really messy. And I'm like, okay. So once again, we take everything out. There were some dish, pots and pans and utensils under there. And I'm like, this is probably not the best place for that. And she's like, no, you're right. So we once again decided, what are you keeping? What can you let go of? Where do you want this to be if you're keeping it? So we did that. And then we moved to the left of the sink, which had all of her plastic containers in it. We didn't quite finish this area because we ran out of time, but she was like, nope, garbage. I don't want this anymore, but my daughter might want it. I'm gonna ask my sister, I'm gonna ask my friend. So we made all these different piles. We didn't quite finish the project, but we got a good start on it. So that day, she was like, my daughter's coming over after work, and so I'll ask her about these things I've set aside for her, and then I have friend in mind for the other stuff. So she texts me later, and she's like, you know, my daughter took some things, and my friend is gonna want a few, and we had come up with a box, not a huge box, that was full of things that she didn't want anymore, so that they could be donated. And she's like, oh, I feel so much better in the 2 hours that we spent together because we just got so much done. Like, it made a big difference in her life. It looked so much better. So I have a feeling we will be working together again to just kind of finish her kitchen up and then work at different parts of her house. She just had in her bedroom clothes piled up all the place with tags still on them. She had started, I don't know if you've heard of closets, the trick, like hang all of the hangers backwards, and then if you don't wear them, get rid of them. So she had like probably 25 things where she had never turned the hangers around. Like, well, those would be good things to get rid of next. So I have a feeling clothes might be after the kitchen area. So, I think I have a few pictures of some storage things that I've used in the past. So on the top, these are actually pictures from my house. So I have Christmas ornaments and decorations in these three boxes. I decided to go clear so I could kind of see what was in them. Plus I've labeled them. So especially if you use boxes that are not clear, it's really important to label them. I will take a 3x5 note card and write specific things down, like what's in the box, so that if you have a lot of boxes, you're not wasting your time opening all the boxes and digging through, because you can get as specific as you want on your label of what's in there. And then they go up in my closet on the shelves. And then another thing I decided to try with my spices was this tiered step thing. Because I don't have a lot of spice, like pretty much what you see there is what I have. I think the shelf above, I've got like the bigger things like baking soda and, you know, baking powder and stuff. So for me, this worked because you can see what's behind it without, you know, pulling every spice out. So I try to, when I'm working with clients, is like suggest ideas to them about what would work, because this might work perfect for me, but someone else is like, I'd rather have a lazy Susan. And I'm like, well, that'd be great, you know, because you just spin it around. So those are just some ideas for storage. This one, so I actually ended up giving the storage thing to the far one to my son, because he moved into a house and there was very little drawer space in his kitchen, and the ones that he needed to put his silverware in were not very wide. So I found this container on the right that was made for small drawers. So I use my drawer as an example. So that's what my drawer looked like, you know, like the conventional way with putting your silverware. But that's what it looked like by putting it in this other container, because it had slots for each type of thing, and it works perfect in his kitchen because he didn't have a lot of space to put that in. So that's why waiting to see what you have left over, it's good to wait to buy the storage things. Alrighty, so here's just a few suggestions on where you could start to get organized. One is we're going to be getting our tax documents from last year coming in. So I think by the end of January or mid-February, you're supposed to have all of them from everywhere. So I always set up a folder, and I try to have it so the folder is standing up versus laying flat so things don't get lost. So I found a little mesh thing that I can put these standing up folders. So as soon as something comes in, I'll get rid of anything extra that comes in the envelope that I don't need. So I get rid of the envelope, anything I need to keep from that one place, I will staple it together, because if you use paper clips, then things can get lost. So I staple it together and stick it in there, and then when it's time to have my CPA do my taxes, I can just pull things out. She has me scan them and email them in, but they're all contained. I know where they are. Another place you could start with your clothes. Look through, like now, if you're thinking of getting rid of warmer or colder weather clothes is a good time, because the places you might donate clothes to don't have a lot of space. So you want to kind of donate the clothes that are in season. So if you go through, all of your sweaters and go, oh, I like this one, this one has a hole, I don't really like this one, I bought it because I thought it was cool or something, but I worked with one lady who, we worked in her closet, we worked virtually, not in person, and she showed me her closet, and I tell you, she went to JCPenney, because the JCPenney in the town I lived in was closing, and she bought every color of sweater of one type. And I'm like, do all of these colors even look good on you? And she's like, well, no, but it was a good deal. And I'm like, you can go and have a color analysis and figure out what clothes look good on you. And you need to focus on buying clothes like that, not just every color, because it's a great deal. So anyway, go through those clothes, go through your dresser, maybe pick one category of clothes to go through at a time so it's not overwhelming, and say every Saturday for a half an hour I'm gonna look at my clothes, like my sweaters or my pants. Some people will suggest don't have a whole bunch of colors of pants either, only have like 2 or 3 colors of pants. Just because capsule closet, plus not everything really looks that great on you, like I know there are some people, I am not one of those people, but there are some people that they just are really great at putting like outfits together and things, and they just love to do that, like they live for that. And I'm like, okay, but how many can you actually wear in a year? Like, let's be reasonable. And or you'll have people that'll be like, oh, I'm hoping to lose weight, and they've been hanging on to the clothes for 10 years. It's like, I'm sorry to tell you this, but the clothes you bought 10 years ago probably are not in style anymore. So the money's spent. You might as well just get rid of them, unless they're pretty new and you can return them, or you can take them somewhere that wants clothes in the last 2 years that are in good shape. You're pretty much donate them, So, and then I'll coach people a little bit about shopping habits. Because I'll be like, okay, where can you afford it? Can you pay cash for it? What happens if you don't buy it in the next, if you don't buy this in the next today and you wait 30 days, like, are you gonna really care if you didn't buy it? Or will you really use it, So I give people about 6 questions to think about. And I'll be like, let's stop buying anything while we're working on decluttering. And then when you move forward, another rule is every time one new thing comes in, 3 things have to leave, stuff like that. But anyway, bathroom. There's a lot of unused things in our bathroom. We think, oh, this would have been great to try out and whatever, and then you decide you don't like it. But you feel like, oh, I can't throw that away. But there are some places in town that will take donations like that, that will, like I know somebody that works for, I think it's called Empower, and they work with like lower income people, and they have to earn money for the store. So, they need toiletries, cause a lot, like if they're on food stamps don't let you buy certain items that you use all the time. So, you know, if you've got a half bottle of lotion, or you didn't use all your shampoo, or you had a lot of laundry detergent and then were like, I can't use this, I don't like the smell or something, you can donate it to a place like that, and then the people earn the right to go shopping in the store, and then they can have these things to use, and you're not throwing it in the trash and someone who needs it is using it. So that's an idea. In the kitchen, I don't know about you, but I still have too many mugs, even though I've downsized many times. Mugs everywhere. Some people have too many water bottles. Some people have too many spices. I just got rid of some wine glasses because I don't drink wine that often, and my mom insisted when I took her china that I also take her crystal that had wine glasses with it, and so I had these extra wine glasses. I'm like, I do not need these. So out the door, I think I took them to the restore. But those are just some places that you could start. So I encourage you to use or display what you have. Don't shove it in a drawer or cabinet and forget about it and then go buy something else or whatever. I want you to enjoy what you have once you've purged and reorganized things. So the less we own, the less we have to take care of, and we have more time to spend with those we love doing, activities we love. And what else? So get started today. If you need help, you could ask a family member, a friend, or hire someone like myself. I'm an objective resource because I am not emotionally attached to any of your things, so I can ask you a lot of questions. I do not embarrass you. I am supportive of you. I want to help you. I'm not going in there going, how did you let your house get this way? Or why would you keep that? Or how could you think of getting rid of that? You know? So I just want you to remember that this is a process. It takes time, especially if you've lived in your home for a long time. You've accumulated things and just maybe life happened. Maybe there was an illness, or a spouse died, or something happy, like you were really focused on your daughter's wedding or a grandchild. So a lot of things in life can happen that kind of get us off track. But this is going to take time, but it's important to make it part of your schedule. And that's it. But do we have any questions, comments? Like, anybody willing to be brave and share, like, what is the number one place you would start in your house if you were gonna get organized? Or ask a question.
I mean, I'd start in my closet.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what you do. I mean, I'm lucky enough to just toss my stuff down to my kids. I have 2 girls.
Okay.
And so if it doesn't fit me, it usually fits one of them. The hanger method, I've done it, it works.
Good.
It's about time to go through and pull those backwards hangers out. So I do recommend doing that. My biggest thing is organizing my purses and my shoes. I have the smallest closet in our house because it's just kind of got pushed in that way. And when I made that transition from a large closet to a smaller closet, everything just got thrown in and it's not been organized. And so I just realized I have a very large empty tote in there that has taken up so much needed space. And I don't know why it's there. I think it's just kind of took over residence and just never made its way out.
Sure.
So I do recommend the hanger thing. It really works.
Good.
I just need to find a method on how to let go of things that are in the top of that closet that have been there for so many years. And that's gonna be hard to do. It's those memory things, it's attachment.
Right.
And so pulling in somebody who could care less about your memories and your attachment to it really does help.
Right. And then a couple of things I tell people when we go down that road. It's like, I'm gonna give you some guidelines, and we could certainly sit here, but a lot of it is gonna take time. So you're not gonna wanna pay me to take time to sit there through this whole thing. But here's some guidelines. So it will be, asking the question, like, if I don't have this, what happens? Or if I take a picture of it and digitalize it, is that a better thing to do? Let's see, I moved here from Michigan 2 years ago. And probably after I lived in Michigan, I lived there 8 years. I lived there about 4 years, and then I was going through things in my closet, in my basement. I'm like, I had my childhood stuffed animals still. And I'm like, okay, one looks terrible, like I ruined it a long time ago, but it was like my favorite. And the other one was getting stained, and I'm like, I don't really need these. So I posed them on the couch, and I took pictures, and you separated together, and all the stuff. Then I'm like, okay, you've served me well. If I really want to look at these, I'll go back. It's in my computer. I can find it. And I was like, bundle them up, put them in the trash can. I'm like, you served me well. Thank you. I have your memory. So. But it's hard, and pictures are hard, or school things are hard. But at the same time, with my kids when they were younger, I would limit how many, like a size box they could keep so that they would learn the art of decision making. And like the phrase that's common in the professional organizing world is, if everything is special, nothing is special. So sometimes it is hard though to like go through things, and it's a process, and it's okay. Like if you have the time to let it sit for a while, then you revisit it in a few years and you can be like, I don't need this anymore. Like it served my purpose. But it is hard to get rid of memorabilia, important pictures. This past summer, I was gonna see two sides of my family, and my mom's older sister died at 98, so we were gonna see all the cousins. And my mom was already passed, and their brother had already passed. And first I went to visit my siblings, and they had a bunch of old photo albums. So I went through them, and my sister works at a library, and they have this really nice scanner. So I sorted all these pictures for like 2 days. Then her and I went to the library for a couple hours, and we just did a bunch of scanning of pictures. And then I put physical pictures in piles that I was like, okay, we already went through them, my siblings and I. We did not want these physical pictures, but we are going to see our cousins, and they might want these physical pictures. So I put them all in envelopes with their names on them, and when I saw them, I'm like, here's some pictures, I've scanned what we wanted, these are yours. If you want to keep them, great. If not, that's fine, but here they are. And that was just a really fun thing to like talk over with my siblings and with my cousins about these various pictures we came across. And some of them were like, I never saw this picture before. Like, this is so cool. Where did she get this picture? So that's another thing. So yes.
You did such a good job of explaining how you helped your client in their kitchen. And what do you do when you have a couple, partners, spouses that don't agree on what is important to keep and what isn't?
Okay, so, well, I figure part of it, we start with common ground. Sometimes we have the wife is wanting to get organized, but the husband has doesn't want to do anything with that.
That's me.
And so what I tell those is like, I want you to focus on what you're mostly in control of. Like, if you're more in control of the kitchen and your husband doesn't go in there and cook it out, you're the queen of the kitchen. So you get to decide about the kitchen. You get to decide about your clothes. And sometimes your example of letting go and things will get them thinking, cause you're not preaching to them and they don't like that. But your example will help them to go, I guess maybe I should look through a few of my tools. Maybe I could do that, and I'm happy to have conversation if the other spouse wants to talk to me and say, I can see like you were really into woodworking and you have all these beautiful tools, tell me about some of your projects. Well, do you have any like grandkids that would really enjoy having some of your tools and maybe working on a project together or something like that, just to get them in the frame of mind of like passing on a legacy to the rest of the family? Because a lot of people, they want to be remembered for certain things. So if you can put it in that kind of frame of mind of passing on a legacy, that can be somewhat helpful. So, yes.
So my mother, we just put her in a memory unit for dementia, and my dad passed away 2 years ago from Alzheimer's. So we were cleaning out my mother's apartment, we found plaques of my dad's, things like that. I don't really want it, my brother doesn't want it, but my husband was like, oh, well, this is historical, you wanna keep it. I don't know what to do with things like that. That really, years of service or something.
Well, now it's yours, or yours. And so, I don't usually use this phrase. That's why I use love it, but Marie Kondo had this spark joy thing. So if you look at it and it just weighs you down, then it's okay to let it go. Because you could offer it to like your kids, if you have kids or whatever, and say, I don't really want this, and Uncle Joe doesn't really want this, but do you want it? Like maybe they want it. Cause I've had things that I've gotten from my mom or we've gotten from my in-laws, and we don't really want it, but my daughter's like, I would like that. And I'm like, great, you can have that, or my son will be like, I kinda want that. I'm like, okay, you can have that. So I think that would be my first example or first suggestion. And then possibly like some things, like if there's a plaque and it's on wood, but there's like the metal part, you can pry the metal part off. And I have given that to like I've given like trophies or the wood part of like a plaque. You can give that to like if where I used to live in Michigan, they had an art center, and so they would take things that could be repurposed into something else. So I don't know if Cookville has anything like that, but I would think there might be. And you could like say, okay, we're gonna get rid of this metal part, which actually could even possibly be recycled, but the wood part could be reused in a different purpose. So does that help? Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions, concerns?
What about digital clutter?
Good question. So I did
How
take,
do you even start?
well, what do you think, give me an example of what is one thing bothering you, so.
I probably just have so much of it that I need to pull everything that's still current useful out and then get rid of the rest. Just like all stuff for work and
Okay,
everything.
yeah. So are we talking email at all, or are you talking more like files you've kept?
Yeah, it's a lot of information and
Yeah.
graphics.
So I guess part of it would be, there's different methods that I've learned about. One was like for your business or your personal stuff, start with the alphabet and go have a file that's A, B, C, D, and then in that file maybe have no more than 3 other files. So like for instance, under C I have Christmas stuff, so that is like any Christmas letters I wrote or my mailing list for Christmas or Christmas memories. My daughter's name is Carolyn, so I might have a file folder for her. And then under P, I have professional organizing, because that's what I do. So you could start with that, and then it's kind of a systematic way of going, either putting aside so much time a day to just be like, I'm just gonna look for 20 minutes here and start, and I'm gonna use this new filing system. Maybe the ABC thing doesn't work for you, maybe like a category thing works better for you, but you don't want things to get lost in there. And then, what else would I say? Looking at things like if they're really old, like I just did this with some of my folders, and I'm like, is any of this relevant anymore? It was some positions I'd held in an organization before, and I'm like, there's about 3 things that are relevant that I could use over here, but the rest of it is not relevant. It's dated, they've come out with a new procedure manual, so I've just deleted all of those things. So looking at older things and going, is this, any of this information still relative to now? So that would be one way to get started. I do know, I took a class on paper clutter, physical paper clutter, and digital paper clutter. It also was talking about emails and how there were some people on the call that had like hundreds of thousands of emails in their inbox. And they talked about a program that you could pay to use that you'd give up parameters and it would delete any of the emails that fit these parameters to get them out of your inbox. And then it talked about a different thing, like going through your inbox every morning and taking the emails, and if you were going to keep them, you put them in 5 different folders that you looked at like once a day or once a week, depending on what they were. Or if you really thought you still kind of wanted it, but you didn't want to organize it, you could archive it, because you can search your archives. But if you didn't want it at all, you could delete it. So, because some people were running out of space on their Google account because they'd saved so much stuff. So, those are just some things I learned. If you have my card, or I'll give you my card if you haven't, I can tell you about this place that I took a class from, because I just learned, enough to help me a little bit, and I've been working on it, but there's a lot more information that they presented that I took notes on, but I was just scratching the surface myself. So, does that help you somewhat?
Yeah, no, I guess I just use the timer.
Yeah. I tell people,
saying kind of do things, don't feel like you have to do it all at once.
right,
Aren't you kind of
Yeah,
saying like take some
definitely.
Usually,
time?
usually the only time it's a problem is when I'm working on something and then I need to reference things, and then I'm like,
You're kidding.
why do I have all of this? That's when it's the problem. That's when I'm like, why it's gonna take me 15 minutes to find what I'm looking for in this.
Yeah.
Right.
Are there files on your computer?
Oh no, I'm cloud storage.
Oh,
Okay.
It's a problem.
Me too.
There's
I
no
just search everything through
There's
the
no
computer
computer
drive.
that can store everything. I have like a terabyte.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of reference material,
Yeah.
so, for like researching and stuff, but there is stuff that's just not relevant anymore.
Yeah.
break.
Yeah.
I went through and decluttered. I decluttered stuff from when I did behavioral therapy. I decluttered stuff when I taught resource one year to going to CDC now. I am very meticulous on, because I use Google Drive, because that's who our stuff is through. I have a folder for everything, and at the end of this school year, anything that's pertaining to this school year in my current students will get moved to a 24-25 folder.
Well, everything's in yours.
And so you have it organized, and
I
it's still,
have
it's
it
just so much.
In yours by
Okay.
months, and then by like specific categories that have happened during that year.
Yeah.
And everything, but it's still like,
It's still a lot.
if I need to, if I'm researching something, I have to remember what year it like started,
Okay.
and then what month, or if it's in a specific, so just like, this is getting stressful.
Maybe
Yeah.
rename stuff? Can you do that? Or like you add it to the folder, rename it?
Yeah.
To where it's one of the like keywords you'll search, that way when you do the global search, it'll be
Yeah.
a few less things.
It pulls up a lot, I can't even see everything when I go to search.
Oh dear.
It's a problem, but.
Yeah, that's the thing about, like, when I was growing up, that was not even a thing, you know? For some of us, that was like, what? What is this thing? But
And
that's a,
sometimes you still find that you have to have a paper copy of something.
yes,
It's like, if you
My
remember when we
paper
were getting
copies
those.
are very well sorted.
Yeah, like when
They
you go to
are.
get your star driver's license,
Yeah.
I had to bring something showing that I was either at my physical address or something like that, so I had to go to the utility company and get a copy of our utility, so, you know, so sometimes you still need paper. You
Yes.
can't put everything
Yeah.
online.
and there's still so much paper that comes in.
Yeah.
Too much paper.
Too much
Too much
paper.
Too
Yeah.
much paper.
So I've learned this, when paper comes in, you're gonna do three things with paper. You're gonna either act on it, like you have to do something with it. You need it for future reference, so you're gonna file it, whether you keep it physically or scan it, and then otherwise get rid of it, toss it out. So that can be helpful to people, and it's something that can be it's something you need to get in the habit of doing every time you bring paper in. Like every time you go get the mail, don't just make a stack of your incoming paper and say, I'll deal with it later. Cause I've helped people and they found checks and bills they didn't pay and everything, so, but,
My system for paper is, if it's not something I have to deal with immediately, I have it in a drawer that everything goes into, and then when I'm feeling ruthless, you know, like break period, that's when I go through my paperwork.
yeah.
When you're really ruthless, that's when you go, when you do it.
Because you know you can go to everything.
Oh, the shredder needs that day.
Yeah, yeah, so,
So.
any other questions
paperwork
for today? So if you didn't sign up for my newsletter, there's a paper going around, and here's my business card. I'm so appreciative for you coming today, and feel free to call me or send me a text or an email if you have a question, or if you feel like you could use my services. I'd be happy to talk with you and move forward on getting organized. So thank you so much for today.
Thank you, Beth.